So this is what the post says. So it's titled 40 male female, so 40 years old each, male female relationship. This is how my wife and I, with 2 jobs, 3 kids, and after 16 years of marriage, found the best sex of our lives. My wife and I are 40 years old and have 3 kids under 11. We've been married for 16 years and recently made a break into the absolute best sex of our lives. A month ago, we went on a trip to Mexico with friends, and of course, the sex there was amazing, but for the last month since we've been home, it's gotten even better than it was on our trip. Many days doing it 3 to 5 times a day. Other days we've intentionally taken a break to let our bodies rest, but then we pick it right back up. Our sex has always been a struggle since all of our dating and engagement happened under a Christian purity culture. We're now realizing how much that has negatively affected us. Shame around self-pleasure, feeling embarrassed saying certain words or having certain conversations, feeling guilty for not pleasing each other enough, etc. That plus the nonstop stress of a 2-job, 3-kid household made sex at best a monthly affair, mostly for the last 8 years or so. What has helped us break through? Several factors. So we'll get into the factors, but right off the bat, if you're having trouble with your relationship, take a trip down to Mexico.
Yeah.
Seems to be the move.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So the first one, or the first factor that they say is sexting. So they say not strict sexting, but while we're at work, we're sending each other messages about the night before, just talking about it, what we liked, what felt good, and what we want to try. Doing this digitally has helped us overcome previous feelings of shame and embarrassment and allowed us to really open our vocabulary, which is really very hot.
Wait. Let me stop you right there. There's like a comic, I think, that brought this up, which is like sending nudes to your wife or husband, which is like a terrible idea because you send a lot of important information like codes or grocery lists and stuff to your spouse, and then you like scroll through and like, oops, there's nude and stuff. So I feel like that's
I don't agree with that because maybe our text conversations would change if we were married and have more things about kids and passwords.
Yeah.
But it's not like I go through my relationship texts and it's all important information. A lot of it is no longer relevant information about meeting up somewhere or getting groceries or checking in. I think a nude wouldn't disrupt. If anything, it would add to the flow of a relationship because you're so used to the monotony of, hi, how are you? Good. Can you pick the kids up from school? Sure. What time are we eating dinner tonight? So if you just sent in a random dude with the what time are we eating dinner tonight and you just did a picture in the mirror, that breaks you out of the autopilot of texting and as a result, the autopilot of life. And so I think you see your partner naked, so it's nothing new. But I think the great thing about nudes is that it breaks you out of the autopilot response of text. Mm-hmm. And then once you're out of the autopilot response of text, then you give a creative response. Whereas if you're going to respond more creatively if you get a text that says, what time is dinner tonight, with a nude from me, if I'm just like turning around in the mirror, showing my whole butt and back, flexing the right calf a little bit, left one's a little small, you'll send a more creative text if you get a nude from me saying, what time is dinner tonight, than if I just say to you, what time is dinner tonight?
Yeah.
It'll kind of rock you out of your autopilot text mode. And same thing for me. If I got a nude from you sending me a text, I would be like, all right, time to fire up a good response here.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Yeah. So
that's factor one.
That's factor one. Sexting. How do you feel about sexting?
I don't know. I mean, it's not... I've never really like practiced it like intensely, but I I don't know. It's not really something that excites
Well, you don't
me
have
that
to
much.
practice it. You can just do
No,
it.
but I mean, just in a sense, it's like it's not like I have a lot of experience doing it, but it's not. I mean, sometimes like a little flirty text is nice, but I don't know if I'd be really into like hardcore. What am I gonna do to you tonight? Blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't know, but that also could be the fact that I don't feel like I need those extra things to feel like that. My
So you
sexual
don't need
relationship.
the extra text. You don't need the extra sex to feel sexier.
Yeah, at least I've not. I mean, I will feel so much more turned on by compliments. I think that. Well, I guess it depends. I think it might depend on how you sext, and I think everyone does it differently.
Yeah, like if you're texting with a creepy guy or a girl that doesn't know how to sext, then it turns you
Not
off to
necessarily.
it turns you off to sexting
It's
because you think that, and even as a guy, if you're sexting, you already think about the text that you're gonna send regardless, especially earlier on in a relationship. So with the sext, you're really trying to nail it. So I think in order for a good sexual exchange, if you will, to happen, both people have to be open and non-judgmental and be willing to fire sex back and forth and think creatively and kind of just go with the flow and not give in to this is the weird feeling which
well,
oftentimes happens,
I
but just be like, all right, we're not together right now, but we're going to talk dirty to each other during sex, or like tell someone what we're gonna do to them.
I mean, I think it's also a big thing in communication, like in the sense of what I meant. So sure, you could have people that are like bad at it or anything, but the main thing I think is that you need to communicate what turns you on and what turns you off. And that applies in the bedroom as well, where some people like, actual dirty talk, some like insults, and they might want that through text, while other people will be completely thrown off by that. Some people like to kind of create a fantasy. Like, remember that in the last season of Sex Education, there's Vivian's boyfriend who's really into like old timey-wimey, like pretending to be a knight and like that wasn't doing it for her, so they like found common ground. And so I think it's a lot about that. It's like sexting is fine as long as you're clear with your partner on what actually turns you on versus not. And I know that personally, like kind of like insulty or too porno like maybe text might turn me off. But
well, what is a porno like text?
I don't know.
You don't see a lot
I'm
of
gonna
texting in
ride
porno.
you like a dog. I don't know.
Yeah, because that would hurt. Have you ever seen a dog get ridden before?
No, and I don't want to. Have you?
Maybe by a monkey on YouTube, like a dog, like something. Things don't ride dogs.
Oh, yes.
Like, I'm gonna ride you like a dog.
I
Dogs
don't
don't ride.
know.
Dogs do it doggy style.
I don't know.
I think that if you, I don't know, if you're gonna sext, it has to be straightforward. You can't beat around the bush, no pun intended. You have to just go for it and see if the other person is picking up what you're putting down, and then if not, you can abandon it. But you can send a text, and especially if you're in a relationship with someone, that text is not the end of the world if they aren't into it. You're gonna have text exchanges for a lot of things. So if you fire off a text with confidence and they're not into it, then it's like, well, whatever. You tried something at least. A lot, because a lot of people, I feel like what they may have felt like us. They're 40 right now, and they may have felt like us or similar to us when they were in their 20s, and then gradually kept having less and less time, fell into more and more autopilot of the day, like what we were talking about, picking up the kids, going to work, coming home, fall asleep. You fall into that pattern, and it's very hard to break that pattern. So maybe both of them were against sexting, especially since they noticed that they had the Christian upbringing. But then one of them just fired off a sext out of nowhere, and maybe she did it, and the guy was like, Jesus, like, and he was like, where has this been? Yeah. She was on the cross,
Jesus.
like Jesus.
All right.
Yeah.